It'd be funny if it wasn't real. But welcome to World War III. And guess what? Trans people didn't start that one. But I also believe there are two ways to reach equality every time. Whenever we talk about equality, you can either bring everyone up or bring everyone down.
Free speech is one of those, unfortunately, became one of those buzzwords where I think no one really knows anymore what it actually means.
But when it comes to Great Britain, there are people now realizing that if you are pro-Palestine, you can't accept the existence of Northern Ireland.
Okay. Welcome to Political by Design, the podcast from Scene Magazine that looks at politics through an LGBTQ plus lens. I'm your host, Leslie Clarke, and today's guest I'm really excited to welcome is Dian Cathal, award-winning comedian, writer, and trans-American living in the UK. Dian has been making audiences laugh and think in equal measures with shows that use tools of comedy to do something far more serious. Pull apart identity, politics, and the absurdities, which I can absolutely relate to, of what it means to exist somewhere between two cultures and two very different political moments. His current touring show, Transatlantic, asks a pointed question that frankly deserves a whole podcast episode. If you are a trans man and a US expert living in Britain right now, which identity makes you the bigger villain? That's a political question as much as a comic one. And it's exactly the kind of question this show exists to explore. Dian, welcome to Political by Design. I have so many questions, honestly. But maybe let me start by asking you, you describe yourself as an immigrant of both country and gender.
Yes.
Before we get into the politics of that and explore what it actually means, can you tell us a little bit about your journey from New York to the UK and what brought you here?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's so funny when I talk about why. So I moved here 10 years ago and everybody always goes, why? As if they're the Home Office. And there is this weird thing where people really see it as a downgrade from New York. And I have to be honest, it wasn't an entirely consensual moving. I often say that I live in exile because I have an autoimmune disease that I've had since I was a toddler. And we found out when I was a teenager that it was caused by corn. So corn syrup, cornstarch, which is in everything in America. I can't eat animals who have eaten corn or been fed mostly by corn, which means I can't eat anything in America. So I was told at the age of 18, you need to leave. And then I went to drama school in the States, and that I went on immunosuppressions for a couple years to see if I could make it through the degree and then leave. But then I got too sick on them and had to leave when I was 20. And that is the only reason I live in this country.
Just to get that right, corn is, as you say, it's everywhere in the US. Absolutely. I think there is not a single food item that doesn't contain corn. I wouldn't be surprised if apples contain corn.
Oh, they do.
But,
the wax they put in them to make them shiny is made of cornstarch.
Oh, you joking?
To eat apples, I'd have to peel them.
Oh my God. Okay, well, that is shocking. But you've been basically kicked out of the country by corn.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't expect that. Okay. I find the why question really funny because this is what you hear basically every time you tell someone you moved here because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I experienced this myself. I moved from Germany, born and raised in Berlin, got family in the US. So actually I'm a dual citizen. And every time I tell people, I moved here in 2020 in the middle of, COVID and pandemics and lockdowns. They're like, why? Why did you? Well, I think it's a lovely place to live. But yeah, Interesting. Okay. So, but yours wasn't necessarily because you absolutely loved the UK, because it was more like you had to leave for your own safety and and to protect your health.
Yeah, I had to go somewhere. And I have an Irish passport, so I could go to all of
Hmm.
Europe, but I am white and spoke really only English and wanted to
Right.
work in the entertainment industry, which meant it had to be the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, true. True. Okay. And you say that was basically your goal. You wanted to work in the entertainment industry. When did you first start doing stand up?
So I started stand-up when I was about to turn 19. So I actually started when I was in college or university in Philadelphia. So I started when I was in the States. And I'd actually been going long enough that by the time I moved here, I was ineligible for all of like the new comedian competitions. Which kind of
Right.
stunted me. I could have lied. Everybody lies on them, but I have a little bit of integrity. Um, so I was like, well, I can't do those, so I just had to grind. Um, and it was more that stand up. The way I've always explained it is, I'm an artist. I don't really care what medium I have to do it in,
Hmm.
and stand up is
Okay.
the easiest and cheapest way to get stage time.
And was comedy always the direction you were heading in?
Yeah, I think comedy is the most effective form of storytelling. I think it's most useful because if you can make someone laugh, you can make them cry. That is sort of what great dramas do, is they make you relax with laughter and then they stab you in the heart.
Uh huh.
So you always have to be adept at comedy to be able to truly tell a great story.
Wow. Okay. Um, your previous show, Dead Named, was built around, I believe, the idea that trans coming out is often framed as a loss,
Yes.
primarily for the people around you. Where did that observation come from?
It came from sort of during COVID. I got sucked into, for a different project, rehearsing transphobic online spaces. So sort of going undercover, being in them, reading them every day. Um,
Every day.
every day. Oh, it wasn't a healthy situation.
Gonna
But I was
say,
also
gosh.
home in New York with my family that loves and respects me and has always accepted me for exactly who I am. So I did have that privilege. Um, and it was just this thing around the way people were speaking about their trans children. And I bring it up in the show. One woman literally said, I wished my child was actually dead because that would be easier than living with a monster.
Monster.
A monster, yeah. They called their child a monster.
Blimey.
Um,
Okay.
a lot of them talk about basically a monster, whether that's the internet or like trans ideology taking their child in the night, which is really
Hmm.
just they've recreated the Irish changeling myth, is what they've done. And if you know that myth, it doesn't end well for the child.
Right.
Um, which is basically the myth that if you had a child, they'd be stolen away by the fairies, and the fairies would leave you a fake child that you would then have to throw in your fire to get rid of and get your real
Hmm.
child back.
Oh.
This idea that my child's been stolen from me is really common in homophobic and transphobic mentalities. And I also the show explores the where we came up with like dead name, and it's always bothered me because nobody is dead. Like in a
Hmm.
really simple way, you changed your name, babe. And just like
Yeah.
decent people should respect that. You
Yeah.
past you didn't do anything wrong and doesn't deserve the death penalty.
No, I mean, it- you are absolutely right about this. I mean, what often gets forgotten in, I feel, this, I don't want to call it debate, but it's what feels like a really noisy shouting match. Is, I mean, straight cis people change their names all the time for whatever reasons, and it doesn't seem to be a big deal. Or the question around, oh, should I really adopt that? The question isn't asked; it's just accepted. So that's definitely interesting. What I'd like to know, because I mean, this is such a sort of sensitive issue. Why did you feel it was the right decision to put that on stage? What sort of motivated you?
I was given the opportunity to do it, for one. Was a theater called the Above the Stag in London, which it was still during COVID, so it was June 2021. They put on a festival to try and get people back into the theater, had a bunch of COVID protocols, but they basically gave artists and teams 2 weeks of free rehearsal space and then a week-long run at no expense. And we kept all the ticket sale money. Like, it was an insane
Good deal.
that
Yeah.
I've never seen since. But there's just something really camp about someone throwing their own funeral, and like, coming from an Irish family, we have fun at funerals, famously. It's a storytelling event. It's a comedy hour as far as I'm concerned. So there was just something really camp and theatrical of doing that and then telling stories of Irish mythology. Ironically, I'm doing the Brighton show May 2nd. I then immediately go to Heathrow to fly to Dublin to do tech for Dead Named in the Wild Stages Festival that will start the next day.
Oh my God. Okay. So that will keep you busy.
So if you come to the Brighton show on May 2nd, you'll see me with a coffin in a suitcase.
No.
Yeah. I have to have a fold-up coffin that I can tour.
Oh my God, I love that.
I'll send you a picture after.
Yeah, please do. So like a human-sized.
You have to get in it. I have to get in and out. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, now you hooked me. I mean, this is absolutely. I need to see this. Okay, and so that was your, or still is, one of your shows,
yeah.
And then you developed, invented, created Transatlantic, and I think, as I said in the intro, that show opens with a central question. And I love the framing. I think it's brilliant. It's sharp. I'm here for it. How did you land on that spine, sort of, land on that as a spine for the show?
I think it was just looking at politics. Every part of me was up for debate in this country. And it has been, I mean, since Brexit. Like, there is this weird thing where some Brits don't perceive Americans as immigrants.
That's right.
It's not even like they still think of us as a colony. They just like don't think that we only have 3 months and that all my American friends have a really hard time getting through the Home Office and have to pay for their NHS in advance. Even whether they use it or not, they have to pay like $5,000 every couple of years. So I think there's this weird thing where there's a hatred of Americans in this country that is just accepted. And it's kind of played off as banter, but it is genuine and deep in the soul, like a deep distaste for Americans. And yet the UK is not making any laws about Americans. It's only about the trans people. So then it became this thing of like, well, you hate these two major parts of me. Which one do you hate more, I wonder?
And you know what? I thought long and hard about the question. And I think I can't really figure that one out.
Yeah. It'll take a whole hour.
It will take a whole hour. The one thing I can say, and I don't want to, because I'm not in your shoes. I can only judge this from a sort of cis guy point of view. But I feel what you already said. I think the hatred or the deep anger felt towards Americans is more packaged up in a sort of heartfelt, sort of comedy, it's banter kind of way. It's not as in your face. And there is not, I feel people don't feel the urge to communicate how they feel about Americans 24/7.
No, but I feel
There are definitely, so yeah, go ahead.
I feel like they hate it in the same way that Brits deal with racism, in that it's an insidious hatred and can always be distanced with, oh, it was just a joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's refined. It's a refined hatred. It's not sloppy.
Yeah.
They know where the line is. They know how not to go too far in the outward hatred, but it's there.
Damn. So you've written about the paradox of making trans art in a time of rising transphobia, which is, we already talked about this, as in the American versus trans context. Transphobia is absolutely rising in the UK, and there's no doubt about that. You've noted that in I think you called it attention economy.
Yeah.
Love and hate generate just about the same revenue. Is that a liberating observation or a disturbing one?
I think it's good news when my videos, sort of the transphobes, find them, because they will comment a lot. They love a comment thread, and that means more money. That means more engagement. I think it also, when it comes to creating things, it will drive certain people to their worst impulses. That's what makes rage baiting. That's what makes clickbait.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword, but there is sort of a thing of like, well, if they're gonna say these things about me anyway, I might as well get paid for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And as far as I'm aware, the Reviews Hub, 5-star review, by the way, so excellent stuff, recommended that the show must be watched or should be watched by Starmer's cabinet, J.K. Rowling, and its sorted Guardian columnists. That's quite a coalition of intended viewers. Do you think comedy can actually change people's minds, or does it sort of mainly reach the already converted?
I think it serves multiple purposes. So there's this amazing book called Why Is That So Funny? Which breaks down sort of why we developed comedy. One of them is to make sure that the group we're in agrees with us, which is the preaching to the converted. And I think that is a huge part of what I do, is like, I would prefer to do this show to a bunch of queer people who get it. But I do think comedy, when you show the absurdity of something, you do open the door for someone to go, oh yeah, that is silly that we do that. And there is a darker thing of like, when you make a room full of people laugh at somebody's view, it does shame them back into not expressing them as harshly.
Right.
Like, there is a level when it comes to sort of activism and inclusion, which is like, the goal is not necessarily for you to be my best friend. It's for you to be ashamed enough to not attack me in the street.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had or ever experienced any form of active opposition doing your shows?
Yes. So my last comedy hour, called Generation Y, which I now do at Comic-Cons, has a bit about how ridiculous J.K. Rowling is. And I got death threats during the London run. Because basically I was told to keep her name out of my mouth, and then I got death threats if you don't cancel this show, we will. Which of course I replied to with, well, as long as you buy a ticket, I don't care. Bring a mob.
Wow. Wow.
Um,
Okay.
they then, very funnily, I was like, "Hey man, where are you? The show's about to start." I messaged the person who made the threat, and they're like, "Oh, Michael's car broke down." And I was like, "Is that okay? I guess you
And
can't
who's
make it.
Michael?
That's a real shame."
Yeah, gosh. Okay. So wow. So there are. Do you think was there's a person who actually came to your show?
No, I think Michael's car broke down and they couldn't get in.
No, no. I mean before that, sort of
Oh no, I know
beforehand. But
exactly what happened. So I got retweeted by Wizarding News, which was a
oh, okay.
big sort of J.K. Rowling critic on Twitter.
Yeah,
I won't call it X. I'll dead name it all the time. I don't care. It's Twitter.
it is Twitter. Yeah, there's no way I'm calling it X. Yeah.
Now I understand the
Um.
transphobic sentiment. I do it. I'm like, no, you'll, you were born Twitter, you'll die Twitter.
There's a long history of queer and trans comedians using performance to make space for experiences um, in a way that probably the mainstream culture wouldn't or couldn't hold.
Yeah.
Where do you situate yourself in that lineage?
I think I describe my comedy as is exactly like sex. If you're straight, you'll still enjoy it. It is better if you're queer.
Love that. Yeah.
Um, I think when it comes to the sort of comedy I make and the stories I make, they are accessible to people outside the community, but you do have to do a bit of effort.
Yeah.
Like there are just jokes where if you're not in community with queer people, you're just not gonna get. Um, and I don't know if that'll encourage people to read a book or to make some queer friends so they know. But I'm not really here to sort of do gender 101. I think we're beyond that.
So you're not on a mission to educate people in the sense of let's go through the alphabet, and explain every single letter. It's more about you need to have like a common a basic understanding.
A basic understanding, and I think it's more about I'm here to talk about and make room for queer joy.
Yeah.
And if that isn't enough to get you on board, this isn't for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And in that context, I think it is extremely interesting that you ended up in the UK doing it here in a place that is called TERF Island.
Yep.
Well, that's the name, the nickname adopted by the queer community as well as the other side. I mean, from your point of view, as someone who came here by choice, where do you think the UK is headed? What's the direction?
I think it's on the same plane as most countries right now, which is we're going right and then we'll slingshot back very left. I think there is a groundswell of really angry people on the left now. Like there's a term going around, dark woke, which is sort of like the
Like dark academia or
yeah,
something.
or like yeah, exactly. It's like the 2010s were sort of lefties playing nice and trying to
Yeah,
win people over,
yeah.
and that's done now. You proved it, like the other side proved it won't work. So I think it will be a slingshot back. Like just talking about being American, there is now a thing of like the left being like, "Shut up, red states. You're gonna have healthcare whether you like it or not. We're not asking anymore. You're getting healthcare." It's like there is, I think,
Yeah.
it really depends on what we do in terms of whether we bring the Greens in, because Labour has failed so utterly and completely in not an unpredictable way, but still shocking that they failed this spectacularly as a party. And yeah, I think we are in for dark times. Don't get me wrong; it's gonna get worse before it gets better. But I do think when it comes to transphobia, some of the vileness and the hatred is spilling out, like the mask is coming off. And I do think the general public are too lazy to sort of police bathrooms.
Yeah.
Like, I think I talk about in the show, we're not gonna go back to sort of separate policed single sex bathrooms. Everyone's making it gender neutral, and you can complain if you want.
It's it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think the UK is, and I don't have data at hand. This is just anecdotal evidence by observing what is happening in the world. Probably the only country where the classical left-right divide doesn't exist when it comes to trans equality.
Yeah.
You have people who are, if you remove that issue, absolutely are left-leaning. But when it comes to trans equality, something changes entirely. And you can look at, Germany or the US. You don't have that mixture of like cross-party, cross-ideology people who post that. So from your point of view, and you are basically on a mission by inviting people to come to your show to have more of a light touch interaction with lived experience. To maybe win those in the middle over, which I really hope we can. But what do you think for those who we can't win over? What needs to be done to get that sorted? Because it's not as simple as saying let's get lefties elected, because there's a big group of lefties who are actually opposing trans equality, which is an issue.
Well, I question how lefty they really are then, because there is an interesting thing now where obviously the cause for Palestine is a very lefty view. But when it comes to Great Britain, there are people now realizing that if you are pro-Palestine, you can't accept the existence of Northern Ireland.
Okay. Right.
It is a colonial settlement.
That's interesting.
Divided by religion.
Blimey. Okay, you've given me
it's
a
the
completely
United Kingdom's
new...
West Bank is what it is. To say a really hot take.
Okay, right. That's... To be honest, I mean, you completely caught me off guard here, because I never had that thought. And that definitely gives me something to think about. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure I got you, but if you look at the history of quite literally importing Scottish settlers who were Protestant to take over the land and make tenement farmers of the existing population, and then using the military, enforcing rule and destroying rebellion on the basis of religion.
Well, if you put it that way, I definitely see where you're coming from. Yeah.
So
okay.
The question is a leftist party in the UK truly leftist if it doesn't support the unification of Ireland? As a complete curveball. But my question is, when we define leftist, how are we defining that? Is it somebody who's just sort of okay with gay people? Is it somebody who is actively fighting against the insidious racism in this country? Is it someone who truly is fighting the privatization of the NHS? Or is it just someone who's not reform?
You open up a really interesting question, because it's probably time, and I said this 10 years ago, to probably let go of the traditional grouping of people into left and right groups, because we're probably we move beyond that, because there are so many different point of views now. I mean, you can be very much like fiscally conservative, but when it comes to social issues, be progressive, or the other way around. It is quite complex. I feel we live in a really fragmented political landscape. So that opens up a really interesting question of, what do we actually define as left? Or is this still an adequate way of grouping people? Maybe we need to change the way we talk about people on the progressive side of things. On that,
I didn't actually answer your question. If you want a question of what to do with the people who will never be changed, let them be changed. And I don't think resources should be wasted in trying to change them. I think my job as an artist is to just make art so good it can't be ignored. Like there's a thing of like Marvel and Harry Potter, as two huge IPs, had the opportunity to put queer characters in, and then say to markets like China that are so closed off and homophobic, no, this is the art. If you do not accept it as it is, your people don't get to see it. And when they get mad, they will look at you. But rather than do that, they just cut out all the scenes with the queer people to get that money. But it is possible to make art so good and so demanded that you will change government policy. People are just unwilling to do it.
It's interesting. I mean, you don't have to look that far. If 40 years ago, when people in East Germany were desperate to do everything they can to watch Western TV and listen to Western radio, that really changed people's minds and hearts, how they thought about their own country, and sort of almost broke down state propaganda. So art can be incredibly powerful. I absolutely agree. And you did your final edits on a new piece when the Supreme Court ruling dropped. What went through your mind then? Can you take us back?
Yeah, so I was literally sat in the new Diorama Theatre in London because I was working there that day. I was in the theatre sitting in the stalls doing my final edit the morning it came in. And there was just a surreal thing of and this has been a feeling I think I and a lot of people have had in the industry since COVID, really, which is it's harder than ever to make art, but it is the important moment of our lifetimes to do it. It is sort of like, if this isn't what we've been training for, what's been the point? There is a reason they come after artists and comedians first. And come after, I mean, in like an actual state way. I do fully believe when it comes to cancel culture and like free speech, I think Brits don't understand what free speech actually is, which is the state coming down and locking you up and shutting you out, which is why Donald Trump making CBS take late night shows off the air was an actual violation of free speech. Me not paying a ticket to your comedy show isn't a violation of your free speech, nor is you not buying a ticket to mine. I don't have a right to your money or your attention, but I do have a right for the government to not walk in and stop me.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if that answered your question, but
I think it did. And you actually and I won't go into this, but free speech is one of those, unfortunately became one of those buzzwords where I think no one really knows anymore what it actually means, because it's used so often and for things that are probably not covered by free speech, or are completely misunderstood. So yeah, that's unfortunately became such a buzzword.
Well, the thing is, this country doesn't have it as a right, technically, because there isn't like a codified constitution. There's freedom of expression. But as we've seen, the government can say you can't protest. You don't have a right of assembly in the same way you allegedly have in the States. That can always be corrupted, and the state can always disobey that. But when brought before the court, it should, in theory, always be upheld as the First Amendment.
Yeah.
But over here, it's not in the law in that way. And I do think it is a product of American soft power. And I think part of the resentment is America for the 20th century was so good at expanding our culture across the world that people have kind of adapted the ideals without having the structure within the country.
That's right. I mean, the UK and the US couldn't have more fundamentally different law structures and systems.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I think no one would dispute in this country that one of the values in the UK is free speech, or the freedom of speech. So this has absolutely became almost like part of the fabric of how people perceive the United Kingdom. There is a section of feminist opinion in this country, which we touched on earlier, that doesn't quite exist in the same way in the US. As someone who observed it from the outside, and now you're in it, you're living it, do you think this is understood internationally, what is happening in the UK, like the intricacies?
No, I think when it comes to sort of I do say so-called feminist contingency, because I do believe feminism to be, and it is, full equality between everyone. But I also believe there are two ways to reach equality every time. Whenever we talk about equality, you can either bring everyone up or bring everyone down. Both ways reach equality, technically.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to sort of the transphobic feminist arm in the UK, I think they do in their hearts believe, like, it's not, I don't think, just disingenuous. They do believe they are protecting women's rights. But I think they are very comfortable with collateral damage of other women. And I think there's a strange thing. So, like, one of the arguments for why there shouldn't be trans women in bathrooms is not even necessarily a safety thing. It's for specifically of women of religious faiths where they can't be in spaces with male people. Like, they can't be vulnerable or uncovered in places with male people. The problem is they then go, well, then we should fight for them to have those closed spaces. And I'm like, no. The problem is that they're being subjugated by a religion. Like, you have no problem with them being in this religion and like not encouraging them to be like, oh no, it's actually not fair that you're being treated this way. Not go to them where they are and say, no, actually there is more for you. You could have equality. It's no, we're actually going to preserve this inequality that you live, and then call that feminism. If you're not in it, if you're not really looking into it on the day-to-day like I am for jokes, I think they're just seen as like, there's still this like empire view of Britain as superior across the world. And it's a view that the UK holds on to, and in America, it's like, it's not a view that the Brits are superior. It's that they think they are, and we go, okay, yeah, sure. They look good in glasses, sort of thing. But
okay,
it is two different fights, because in America it is very much about like, this is against the Lord. This transgenderism.
Well, I mean, luckily, and this probably could be a whole nother episode, the whole religious element in the UK isn't there.
Yeah.
Your show talks about British attitudes to school shootings and the bathroom debate, both really politically live issues in the US, in very different ways to the UK. What happens when you play those sections to a British audience?
I think they love it. I think what I kind of don't touch on is so like when it comes to school shootings, the reason we have American gun culture, which I don't think we'll ever truly get rid of. But if you ever take the time to read the Bill of Rights in the American Constitution, they are just a list of stuff the British did to us that we then made a rule to not allow. Like, we have an amendment that you cannot be forced to house soldiers in your home during wartime. That's because British soldiers were commandeering people's houses. Like, when you come at it looking sort of as like the pride of the revolution, it makes sense why, in theory, the Second Amendment is no, you will always have the ability to arm yourselves and take down the government. The problem is that is not what Second Amendment people understand it to be. Because I've had fights with family members because I'm like, no, you don't understand. My Second Amendment right is my right to go get a gun and shoot a cop. Fundamentally, they are an agent of the state. And if I'm going to overthrow the government, they're the first line of defense. It is my right to go buy a gun, shoot a cop, shoot the National Guard, and eventually kill the president. That is the right that you have given me with the Second Amendment. In theory.
In theory, yeah.
Well, what's the difference between a civil war and a revolution? The side that won. All right? If you're going to do it, if you're going to start a civil war, you better win. Otherwise, you're going to die.
I think the likelihood is, there's a high chance.
So, well, we won't get into it, but there is a discussion of the worst thing America ever did was let the Confederate leaders live. But we were too generous. But when it comes to like gun culture, it is so absurd over here that guns are so easily accessible, but there is just a knowledge gap of why that is. And I think there is sort of a reckoning, because I think there is an awareness that the British people now, I don't think, could overtake a government here. There couldn't be like a groundswell revolt, because there are no weapons to be had. It would be a farmer's rebellion of rakes.
But on the other hand, which I find really interesting when you think about it, I mean, yes, the Constitution in the US, well, the Second Amendment is there for that exact reason. On the other hand, the state made sure to have the resources, the capacities, the skills, and quite frankly, the quantity to probably fend that off really comfortably. You know, I mean, yes, you have guns, but try to go against, the National Guard and the Secret Service and. I mean, this is just a lot. Yeah. In the UK, we don't have that much around, when you look at the protection of the Prime Minister. Yeah. But at the same time, we don't have guns. So,
again, I'm not pro it. I think it should be as hard to get
no.
as it is to buy a car. Like my position is, if you need a license, a background check, and whoever gets killed with it, you're on the hook for. And there is a thing where like you'll have people like in my hometown, like where my parents' home is now. We haven't had like a burglary in like 20 years. Like it's like the third safest county in the country. Yeah, and there is a thing of like, if you need a gun here, you are mentally ill. You have an irrational fear of someone breaking into your home because you have no evidence that would ever even occur. But it is like such an American. It is like this is really dark, but the most American I ever felt was I was at the Soho Theatre in London seeing a show the night Charlie Kirk was killed. Before we went in, it came up that he'd been shot, and my genuine thought was, oh, he'll walk it off. Because I hadn't seen the video. I hadn't seen where he was shot, but I was like, hey, everyone gets shot sometimes. I'm sure he's fine. I come out of the show and go, oh, you don't walk that off. Oh.
Let's dive into another aspect of your art. When you're writing material about your transition or about transphobia, how do you decide where the line is between something that clearly serves the show and something that's too raw or too private to use?
I don't think I have that line. Um, yeah, I don't think so, because I think in order to truly understand it, you have to see the humanity of it. The trick is to then the next line be something so absurd that they can't linger on how vulnerable you were. And there is always a thing of and it goes with acting as well, and like I do it in Dead Name, where you never really know what's fully true. I think with comedians, people think everything is true, and it doesn't have to be. Um, and then that means you can slide real raw truths in there and them not know. And only you know exactly how deeply that was felt by you.
Mhm.
But like Generation Y, which was my previous comedy hour, I talked about my father's death, because that's what you do when you're a comedian and your family someone dies in your family. So you make a show about them. The first time I did it with my mom, she broke down crying because she knew how real it was. And when I filmed my special, someone in the second row who had known me when I was really grieving started crying during the show because they knew how real what I was saying was. But because it was rehearsed, I was distant enough from it. And because I also believed that it served the show, that it was worth doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it comes to making material. I think it's always like there's when I did National Youth Theatre, we had a great director who the first day sat us all down and said, "I don't need you to show me your bleeding wounds. It won't help you paint a prettier picture for me." Um, there's a line between indulgence and usefulness. Don't get me wrong. But that indulgence is when you're revealing vulnerability and it's not helping the story.
You've noted that trans jokes are only funny when trans people tell them, and that, as far as I'm aware, that the answer to diversity is not to shoehorn trans people into the media. Can you say more about both of those things?
I do think I think I said that a long time ago. I think it's funnier when we tell them because we know the absurdities more than anybody. But I do think there are cis comedians making very clever, very funny trans jokes, but they take work that transphobic comedians aren't willing to put in. Like, what's his name? There's an amazing Irish comedian who I will always repost this joke when it comes up, which is about how Northern Ireland is a trans country.
Okay.
Because it's like, oh, well, you're physically a woman. You can't just identify as a man. Well, you're physically part of Ireland and you identify as British. Or like, well, you can't just change your names. You can't just be called one thing one day and one the other. Oh, you mean like Derry and Londonderry? Like, it's a great look at a fraught political idea
Mm-hmm.
with another fraught political idea. So I think it's entirely possible, but it takes being like there's a thing about about comedy is being a comedian is saying the thing you're not allowed to say and getting away with it. You're so funny, you're so clever, people let you get away with it. It's the gesture's privilege. The problem with transphobic comedians is you're not getting away with it, you're just saying it.
True. And there's a really fine line, isn't there, between things being actually funny or just so shocking that you gasp and don't really know what to do with it.
I think it's the difference between an entertainer and an artist, and there is a difference, and they're both needed and they're both good. But an entertainer is there to just it's to make you laugh. They can really play they're the comedians who can play any room. They're jokes. They're the comedians in the 80s who were always talking shit about their wife. You know what I mean? Like it was
Mm-hmm.
here's the jokes of the time. They they go, these are the jokes this time period wants. And I think comedians who are artists are trying to make you think, are trying to, if not change your mind, show you something, and then you show you a mirror and let you do with that what you will.
Mhm.
And that's the comedy that takes more work.
When you're on stage yourself and you can feel a room turning or someone getting uncomfortable in a way that's not productive, what do you do?
It depends if they're being disruptive or not, if it's an individual person. If it's a whole room, I need to recalculate, because it could very well be that I didn't say either. The sort of the thing in joke crafting is, and being a comedian, is you have to be humiliated on stage enough that eventually you start analyzing why things aren't working, not just being upset that they're not working. So, and you'll see this is why some specifically straight male comedians will get very angry and turn on the audience, which you can never do, because then you're just screaming at a mob of people. A lot of it is you come off stage and you have to go through the factors of, was it the audience? Could be. If everybody on that night bombed, that was a weird room. That was a weird audience. There was something in the air. It's not right. If it was just you, was it that the joke was bad? Did you not say it right? Was your intonation wrong? And therefore they misread what you meant. If I've yet to run into a crowd which is just like fully transphobic and I say I'm trans and like, we're out of this, that'd be a while. I've yet to have that experience. I've had experiences in what you'd expect to be more closed off areas. But then if you can get them with the, like, my bathroom debate jokes will get them. You get them with the ridiculous. You get them with a bit naughty, a bit sexy. That joke about that I told earlier about my jokes are like sex. If you're straight, it's fine. If you're queer, it's better. The straight women in the room get that. Yeah. They understand that joke. They're having bad sex. Like, they're not unaware. And some of it is about trying to meet the audience where they are. But at a certain point, if a whole room turns, you look at the clock and you go, well, I got 7 more minutes and I'm getting paid 200 quid. And that's what tonight was. And that,
right.
This is now, I'm not an artist. This is the job. I'm not here to touch hearts and minds. I am here to do my 15 and then go home.
Go home. Okay. I find it interesting because, your comedy has a clear political label. It's advertising, you are about to enter a political show. That's the clear theme. But I would argue comedy has always been political. Right now, I'd say it feels particularly weaponized for multiple directions. Where do you see the art form going, specifically in relation to trans and LGBTQ plus voices?
I think trans and queer voices are on the rise. But I also think it's not that queer people are suddenly getting involved in comedy. Queer people made comedy. Queer people made drama. They've always been in the industry. We're just now acknowledging them. Like, the idea that there weren't queer people in the golden age of Hollywood is insane. The idea that some of our favorite comedians weren't doing queer shit. Like the comedians of the 70s and 80s were on so many drugs. You think they didn't do gay shit while they were at it? What are you talking about? You think you can't be doing that many drugs and not end up in a gay club at some point? That's where the drugs were. Like, there's a reason why Broadway has Broadway Cares. It's because so many people died of HIV/AIDS because it was half the cast.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, I think, like, is it The Celluloid Closet? Yeah, it's a film about sort of the hidden queer people of the industry. and we're just now getting to tell our own stories. We're not having to be the sidekicks in anyone else's. We don't have to be the butt of the joke. We can be the maker of the joke. I think there's still a long road. I think, comedy's still struggling just to get any women into places of prominence. And it's not because cis straight men are the funniest in the world. It's just because they have the most resources to pursue a career that doesn't really pay you until you make it big. The first 5 years of your comedy career are an unpaid internship that you do at night after you've gone to work. So it's about privilege. It's about how do we make it more accessible for people. And the answer is not joining the mainstream. It's answers like the Queer Comedy Club in London, which is saying, we're not coming to your straight night. We're having our own. We're just, like I said before, we're just going to be better.
Do you feel when you say our own, would this include curious straight people from who'd like to come, or how would you, in your world, how would you handle a room like the Queer Comedy Club?
Oh, straight people are allowed. Oh my God, no, nobody's banned. But you're a guest. I think, it's with so many art forms. It's with, if you're a little girl, you have to get used to empathizing with a male hero all the time. If you're a person of color, you have to learn to empathize with white heroes all the time. If you're queer, you learn to empathize with straight heroes because they're all that's available to you. We're now saying you have to learn some empathy, and you have to step outside yourself and see humanity as more diverse the same way we all have had to.
Fantastic.
And that might mean there are some jokes at your expense, straight people. Some of the things you do are ridiculous.
The way you describe comedy in queer spaces, and I think I fully agree that art obviously plays a huge role in changing people's minds. And I touched on East Germany earlier as an example. I think, in this day and age, we all play our role to affect the change we want to see, more LGBTQ equality. And by equality, I actually mean equity, but the word isn't quite, it's still working its way into the mainstream. Equity is still something when, people think of trading apps. So equality, to keep it simple. The good equality, the raising, not the keep people down equality. And art absolutely plays a huge role in achieving this. In the same way, probably, it played a role when it came to in the 40s and 50s when it came to women's rights or, race equality. And this is what I'd like to viewers and listeners to think about, to really go out and support queer artists, because they're not just there to give you something lovely to listen to or to make you laugh. They are actually part of that huge coalition of builders to change our society. And that's a huge responsibility. And you will continue your responsibilities because you're going back on tour this spring, spreading joy and laughs with your transatlantic show. There are a few tour dates already in the diary: the Comedia in Brighton on the 2nd of May, the Queer Comedy Club in London on the 18th of May, and the Blue Moon in Cambridge on the 29th of May. So, folks, if you haven't got any plans yet, please do and go and experience the show for yourself. Do you have a message for people who are curious? What do you want people to leave your show with?
An excellent question. you've cried yourself laughing. I'm the best comedian you've ever seen. And that,
Modest as ever.
babe, in this job, you gotta believe in yourself. No one else is gonna tell you.
No, absolutely.
Do
I'll
you
go
understand
for
how
it.
insane it would be to get on stage and do this if I didn't think I was amazing?
Oh yeah.
Horrific. But mostly that the things we're fighting about are absurd. Like, it'd be funny if it wasn't real. But welcome to World War III. And guess what? Trans people didn't start that one.
No, I'm pretty confident that was, yeah.
Have you told the Daily Mail that? Because they're convinced.
No. But I mean, the Daily Mail is, gosh, my grandma would probably say a lost cause.
I agree.
It is,
Smart woman.
it is difficult.
And
isn't
yet,
it?
I kind of want them to come see it.
Yes.
What would they say? I want to know.
Oh gosh, maybe you should. Well, why don't you invite them?
I've invited. I should. I've invited every major political party in every city I'm going to.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
And did you get any feedback?
Yes. Nearly every time the Greens responded, that they'd want to come. One time, because the subject was, transgender people or Americans, which do you hate more? If you're going to debate me, you might as well come see the show. And then they wrote back. Labor wrote back, "We don't hate Americans." And I'm like, ooh.
Oh, hold on. Wait a minute.
They're like, "We don't hate all Americans." I'm like, okay.
Okay. Well,
Bit of a slip of the tongue there, whoever wrote that email.
Well, okay. Well,
that's what your listening should take, if nothing else. We got an election coming up.
Well, there is an election coming, and this is actually, I mean, the local elections are super important, because what people don't realize, and I don't get tired of saying it myself, because it really changed the way I look at local elections. I've been a city councillor myself, and it is so easy to just think of your local council as the organization that takes care of your bin and the potholes. But it is about so much more. It's about funding for, in our case, LGBTQ safe spaces. So it is absolutely crucial for people to get out and vote, and make sure to look at whoever stands in your seat, in your ward, and make the right decision.
100%.
Really important to look at, what the people have to say, and vote for the queer, LGBTQ friendly candidates. So thanks for the local election plug. Really important. Is there like anything else in the pipeline? What are you working on next?
I'm developing a show called Time Bomb: How to Live When You Know You're Getting Cancer, which is about the history of cancer, and how society has dealt with it, and also my personal family history, because I am for sure getting cancer. I've been told that.
Gosh.
Because everybody in my family gets it, and it kills them.
Right.
But about sort of the misunderstandings we have with healthcare in general, and what we know and what we don't know. A very uplifting show.
Incredibly uplifting.
And then in pre-production for a couple of short films, one in Ireland, one in New York.
Wow.
Very exciting for next year.
So you are going to be extremely busy, not bored at all.
Yeah, well, like I said, I leave the Brighton Fringe to fly to Dublin to do a week-long run of the play.
Wow.
So if you're in Dublin,
okay,
May 4th to 9th.
Absolutely. If you're in Dublin, pop in your diary, make sure you're free. Before I let you go, I have one final question. If you had 5 minutes with whoever is currently making decisions about trans rights in this country, what would you say?
Oh, does it have to be Wes Streeting? Could it not be? Does it have to be him? The problem is the people making the decisions I kind of think of as lost causes at the moment. So I don't know that if it would be anything more than a berating. I think it's that I think if I was going to be tactical, it would be you are going to lose if you keep doing this. Your pandering is not working. They will never like you. They hate, I think I'd rather have 5 minutes with the queer people who stand against trans people than the people making the actual decisions. So I would find that more useful than me and Wes Streeting hanging out.
So can we just, that I get that right, 5 minutes with queer people who
stand against the trans community.
Right. Okay.
Like I've had a coalition of them and just really impart the warning of you're next. I don't know why you think they'll stop with us. They never do.
This probably would be the more productive conversation. And I hope people feel inspired to go out and have these conversations. I know they are not easy. They're really hard, frightening sometimes to go into those rooms, but it is necessary because without conversation, we won't change anything, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that the things we're seeing from the powers that be are actually born of ignorance. That's what I mean when I say it's like insidious. They know what they're doing. No. It's either an apathy or they genuinely believe trans people don't deserve more. And I don't know that me speaking with them for 5 minutes will change that.
Probably needs more than 5 minutes. Dian, it's been absolutely brilliant to have you on and to hear from you directly and personally about your experiences, about your work, your art, your shows, your work views. I really enjoyed this, and people, out there really make an effort and try to go and see the show.
Thank you so much for having me.